So should be okay, let's start. Hi everybody, welcome to this IDP and NOC talk jointly organized by both the departments. Right, I'm equally excited, okay, to be on board, to see quite a few of you have already on board here, and I'm sure that many of the folks may be coming in. But let's start off first. Okay, myself, I'm Jeannie Pinky from NOC. We have Prof Yen. Very honored to have Prof Yen with us, a director, and also Dr. Tang, who put this talk together for us. And we have all our speakers here. Okay, this will be a very good platform for all of you to ask questions about NOC and IDP students. These are IDP students. The speakers are all IDP students going on board NOC. There are 3 already completed NOC, and there are 2 in the location now in Paris and Norway. To start off first, let's invite Prof Yen to actually give us the opening address. Prof. Yes.
Thank you. Hi,
Yes.
everybody.
Yes.
So let me just share my screen. Thank you all for joining us this evening. You guys can see my slides, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We're gonna actually, the students are the star of the show, right? So they're gonna tell you a little bit about their experiences, some of the opportunities that they had. And I hope some of you have already heard about the Innovation and Design Program. I just wanted to kind of give you a few more details about sort of what we do here. So in the Innovation and IDP program, essentially you have sort of a primary major that you'll be doing, so that's shown on the left here, right? So you will have your primary major that goes through, first year, second year, third year, and fourth year, so or the 8 semesters. And then on the IDP, because it's a second major, it basically you're doing this in parallel, right? And so usually some students will start maybe only in their second semester, but if you are actually interested, you can already start taking some classes with us even in the first semester. But essentially, there's kind of these 2 classes that you take. These collaborative design class, which is about sort of how do you, identify with the user's needs and so on. So the Dr. Tang actually teaches that. And then we have a value creation. This is about how you create business models and so on. And then we have the 2 engineering design projects that I kind of mentioned in my talk on Saturday. But this is where you get to work with, sort of the students from other disciplines to actually solve a problem. And this is often with industry partners, right? So the nice thing is that you get 2 semesters to do this, which allows you to actually, sort of really understand the problem, create a prototype, and then get feedback and then iterate, right? Because a lot of times, the first time you try to solve a problem, you will learn a lot, and then you will actually need time to actually kind of try to close that learning loop, right? And then, so we have the second opportunity to do this if you're doing the major. If you're doing the minor, then basically you kind of stop here, right? And so a lot of our students who go in NOC actually can replace some of their credits here, right? So if you go for the 1-year NOC, you actually don't have to do the final year project anymore and still get the major, right? So we'll talk a little bit about this, or you'll learn a little bit more about this when you come in, right? So that's one of the reasons why the IDP, the NOC is very popular with our IDP students. So I wanted to also kind of just show you a little bit of the breakdown of the different students we have in our program, right? So like I mentioned before, it's very interdisciplinary. So we do have students from all over. So you can see here, we have about 13% from biomedical, computer engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, engineering science, environmental engineering, industrial systems engineering, material science engineering, mechanical engineering. And then we have quite a few from others, so including, business, arts and social science, faculty of science, school of computing. And then, we don't have any more new students, but we used to have some from NUS, architecture, industrial design, and even nursing, right? So a very broad range of students. And so again, if you have friends who are doing, majors in other places and you guys want to try to work together, tell them to come and join us, right? And then maybe you guys can go on NOC together. And so I wanted to kind of take the opportunity to show you a couple more videos that I didn't have time to kind of show during my talk on Saturday. So this is a bumblebee competition, right? So they actually have a underwater vehicle that's going around, sort of picking up the sort of lid there. So they have to actually go down and identify. So this is all done autonomously, right? So the robots actually have sensors in there that allows them to actually do all these things by itself. The students are not controlling, right? Once you program it, the robot just has to go and do its thing. This is our race car. So this is it's kind of a little video of sort of what they do. They have to kind of pack everything up, ship it over to Michigan, and then they have to undergo a lot of tests before you can actually go race. Right? So a lot of the teams actually sometimes don't even pass the technical test, and they actually cannot actually race. Right. So there's actually a lot of things that the team has to pass in order to be able to get to the final race. So this is again some of the sort of exciting things that our students are doing. Again, very interdisciplinary, involving a lot of students from different backgrounds, right? This is a project a few years ago now where the students actually built this sort of little craft there, right? So they actually they actually, I think when they went to I believe this is in Thailand, where they actually flew this little vehicle that they designed and produced, right? So there's sort of a lot of different sort of types of different projects that you can do. We have, like I mentioned, some students working on space programs, and so this is a Mars rover competition where the students are designing a robot that can actually navigate a terrain like Mars. And then this was a sort of a launch video from our Galaxia. So this is a CUBE satellite that was launched by the Indian space rocket. So you actually see like a little video, very short video of how our CUBE satellite. So this is a simulation of how the CUBE satellite will actually sort of emerge from the rocket, right? So that's kind of our satellite there. And then you'll see a real video. So this little speck there, that's actually a view from space, right? And so this is actually an image that our CUBE satellite was actually able to capture, and then it has to do some processing. So each time the CUBE satellite sort of orbits the Earth, we get an opportunity to talk to it and then tell it to do certain things, and then it can send the data down. This is another sort of competition that I mentioned before. So these are, sort of robots that our students build. They have little sensors on them that detect when you are being hit, and then your health points actually get reduced, right? So it's a bit like playing a video game, but actually you build the robots, and the robots are actually kind of competing, and you have to actually try to take down, the enemy's base, right? So here NUS is red, and the blue is actually Colorado University, right? And so you can kind of see the two, these are piloted, right? So there are actually students kind of controlling these robots. They're trying to take down this robot first, and then they're going to disable some of the other robots. And then so then they can actually try to target the base of the enemy, right? So you can kind of see here, it's trying to sort of take down this other robot here. And so now it's going to start to move around and kind of to take out this base. Right? So the robots actually have, sort of different places that they can go to kind of resupply themselves, get sort of power ups, get more health points and so on. And so this is a sort of a very, and you can kind of see this is what the pilots see, right? So the pilots can't actually see that overview that we see. This is what they see as they're driving the robots around. So you can kind of see here, I think we're about to go to destroy the enemy's base here. So it's kind of lining up to actually try to hit the blue base. Yeah, so there it goes, right? So it's gonna take down the enemy's base by hitting it, right? So again, this is, a lot of projects that again involve a lot of different components, and the students actually did very well. This was their first competition, but yet they were actually doing, they actually came in second place. The other thing that I sort of didn't get a chance to mention, I kind of briefly mentioned that we have a lot of startup companies, and so the students actually, sort of have a chance to create startup companies, and we actually give them support, right? So essentially, we actually the students, once they graduate, we actually give them a little bit of a stipend to help them test out the ideas for another year, right? And so this is something that we've been doing for a few years now. We have a group called Hypothetics, and then a second group called Moonbeam, and they are actually still, doing very well. And so this is something that, we try to promote students who are interested in entrepreneurship to actually get them a little bit more runway to get their kind of ideas off the ground, to kind of improve their prototype so they can get funding. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for today. And again, the sort of the main attraction is your chance to kind of hear from the students themselves. So thank you again for joining us. Over to you, Tini.
Hi. Yeah, thanks, Prof. Right. That's why I'm so excited when I see so many different kinds of projects that students can do. That is why you must come to NOC to further explore and further develop your idea. And now let me take you through on what's NOC about. Okay, right. And why must you come about NOC program? Okay, right. Everyone can see my screen, right? Yes. This picture you see here was taken during our very, very recent NUS Open Day, where you can see this Velicon here is our very new mascot. It's a Velicon. Velicon means that it's a resilient, symbolizing resilient. It's a whale and plus a corn on top. That's why you can see the horn there. It's called Velicon, right? It's resilient, it's tough, can actually withstand so many different hardships to become successful, right? That's why this is the meaning of Velicon, right? What's the meaning of NOC program? It's already, we started in 2002, okay? And we've already been here for over 20 years. This is the finest example of entrepreneurial education and training through experiential learning. We don't just teach you by textbook. We want you to put you to startup, to work together with founders so that you will learn alongside with the founders to actually assist them and also learn about their vision, their inspiration, or that hope that you can get inspired and you start your own company. This is the initial meaning of NOC, right? And when you see here in 2002, we sent first batch of 14 students to where? To Silicon Valley. Okay, so why we must send to Silicon Valley? Because this is the best startup ecosystem around in the world. That's why we want to send our 14 students to go and experience what is entrepreneurship about. And it's actually something like an experiment. The idea will be into full-time internships in startups in the top ecosystems. That's why we chose Silicon Valley. And you need to study part-time in the partner universities for all the theories about entrepreneurship. Because by only putting you into startup, it's not enough. You need to know the theory behind why entrepreneurship is a core. Yeah, so then we provide mentorship by serial entrepreneurs, investors, angel investors, everybody who are very experienced, who are already seasoned player into entrepreneurship to guide you through, to guide the students. The 14 students have all this all-rounded education. Okay, practical theory with the mentorship, everything. Objective for the student is to actually understand the culture, feel the vibes of the entrepreneurship, and also explore the kind of intensity of the startups in that area. Okay, and also connect with the local ecosystems. We don't want the student to go over there just for internship. We need them to be thrown themselves into the ecosystem to know this startup, what is it about, that startup, what is it about, all the kind of vibes in the startup ecosystems. If the student is only going to work in the startup and go back to the place they stay, we'll feel very sad because there's only so much that they can do, which is already below what we expectation. 1 year in SV, many things can happen. Many different kinds of opportunities can evolve. And need to connect with the local ecosystems by participating in all the entrepreneurial activities. This is why until today, I always encourage my students to go on that location, not only to work and go home, go home. Go into the ecosystem activities, go and join hackathons, competitions, everything. Go to look at the interesting startups. Don't waste your time sleeping at home, something like that. Then later catch the bug, not the flu bug, but the bug to say, I want to do the same, right? What's the same? Start a company and have the confidence to say, I can do the same. This was like 20 over years ago. That's why they want to help in the Singapore's economy. We need to create jobs, all that for the locals, and also to have more and more companies, small little backyard entrepreneurs. We want to be like them. As the years goes by, the direction has changed a bit to say that now we want to be not so stringent to the students. Not all the students need to start a company, all that. We want it to be something like learn entrepreneurship like life skills. Everyone needs something a life skill. Entrepreneurship, like you can be, after NOC, you can be more resilience, more confidence. You can have more risky, can have a bigger appetite to take risks. This kind of thing that we want you to be like that. Not only just to start company, right? This is already, in the past, but now we're moving forward. Treating entrepreneurship as a life skill, that's what we want, right? Then for today, we already have more than 20 ecosystems spread all over. The many regions, all that. And you see, we started with Silicon Valley here, Silicon Valley. Then we actually develop further. And now we even have it in the Southeast Asia. So many more different different locations. Like we have already started Malaysia, also started Philippines, and also Nagoya. Also, we sent the first 2 or 3 badges ready, and we are into Chicago, San Diego, and yes, next intake we are going to London. London is more into the cybersecurity base, whereby Pinky will be touching more on it later on. Okay, right. And this is something about, I counted all, is about 24 locations to be exact, all over. And NOC is not stopping there. We are going to further explore more and more locations for our students to be benefited on that. So for iDP students, you are actually be spoiled with choices. So many different choices here, right? I'm so happy for you because during my time, there's no NOC. If there's NOC, I will definitely join, no problem, right? I think also with Pinky, right? Right. All right. Okay, good. So what does it mean for you? Okay, what does NOC mean for you? And we want you to know that we want you like something to do something like be a global and enterprising change maker. Don't always study. Don't always study and go home, study, go home. Be something else, something better, something think out of the box. Be a change maker. You have endless opportunities. Yes, once you go out of the world is out there for you, right? And it's not only about Singapore, it's about where it's your world, is your overseas, something like that. And it's essential life skills. With NOC, you can actually survive. I cannot guarantee that, but we are opening the option to you to survive very well with NOC, something like that, right? So of course, there are students who can survive, who cannot survive, but I'm very positive. I've been NOC outreach for over 10 years. I see students really explore and they become so much better. When I saw them in first year, when they graduate, they can thank me, Jeannie, thank you so much for introducing me NOC. Oh, I feel so great. It's don't need to give me any present. Just a word thankful, I'm already very satisfied. Correct. Yeah. So just take note. You build connections. Why? Connections is important. Through NOC, this connection is valuable. Will take you through life. Something like that, right? Because you go on NOC, you build the connections, and you further, develop on it. And who knows, next time, you can sit along with the co-founders and actually open another startup with this same co-founder, same founders as well that you work for, right? And we want to nurture. Okay, nurturing a new generation of change makers and problem solvers. We don't want you to just go to internship and just say yes, boss. Yes, boss, I do this. Yes. Yeah, no problem. Yes. The yes man. We don't want you to be yes man. We want you to think why you need to do this and how do you make the startup better? How they actually flourish from there from your help? How do you make the founder actually secure more funding through your creativity, through your positive thinking, through your hard work, and through your working smart with them, or that to explore further. And of course, you can learn new skills from innovative startups. why why is it called startup? Startups are not really only small companies. They actually form because of the like-minded mission. Like, oh, I'm into fintech. Oh, another co-founder also into fintech. Let's make this fintech work and actually contribute and help the society further with the kind of challenge or kind of like problems that you want to solve for the community. This is what the startup form about with this kind of thinking, not just a simple small company or sole proprietor they are looking at. You see, you can have learn new skills from all the different kinds of industries, AI, machine learning, data science, and as the list goes on, there's so many. And you can see from Prof. Yen's slide just now, you even do robotics, you can see the parachuting, so many exciting things that you can learn, exciting skills that you can learn. So you never stop there. And also about AI. AI is very happening. Everywhere is into AI, right? And I hope that this will be my last slide now. And it's actually, you follow us on the social media. We already got 4,000 plus alum who went through our program. They are called alum because they went through our program. Some has come back to start companies. We already got more than 1,000 startups formed. And we look after the students. Means that when the student want to go on our to get a secure internship, we can help, no problem. So just can write to us here and also tag us on the social media, all that. If you got any question, just ask us on the Q&A part. So now I pass on to Pinky. Okay? Yes, Pinky, over to you. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Jeannie. Okay, let me just share my
Yes.
screen. Okay, can see? Okay, yes. Thanks again, Professor Yen and Dr. Tang for organizing this and having us here. So just to add a little bit to what Jeannie has mentioned, right, about entrepreneurship being a life skill. Why we say that also because we see life actually mirrors entrepreneur pursuit. Why we say that is because when you go through life, you have to deal with uncertainty, you have to embrace risk, you have to make a lot of decisions, complete information, and basically do a lot with very limited resources. So that's why we see entrepreneurship is actually mirroring life. So it's very good for students to go through this process, right? And I'm from, I look after Europe, and maybe just let me explain a little bit how going to Europe can sort of complement this life skills concept that we're talking about. So Europe, we have 6 locations of 2 types. We have the 1-year program and the 6 months program. So for the 1-year programs, we have Stockholm, and as Jeannie has mentioned, we have a new one coming up in London starting from January 25, right? And then for the 6 months program, we have 4 programs in Europe. They are Munich, they're in Paris, in Norway, and in Israel. And I can just highlight for you to take a look at the map. You can see that Europe is actually very small in terms of geography and in terms of population size compared to the other bigger countries like US and China. Of course, I'll allude to that later on, okay? Right. So about Europe, we talk about values, right? So the story about Europe is that it is about size, or rather the lack of size. So Europe, as I've pointed out, is really small in terms of geography, in terms of population, but what it has done is in terms of impact, it has always punched above its weight. So that's why I think of Europe, I think of it as a David versus the Goliath story, where as entrepreneurs, you also have to always punch above your weight, right? Very much like how Singapore is doing as well. We are small, and it's, I think, very relevant for you to go to Europe and see how the Europeans do it. Let me just illustrate with a few examples. Despite their small size, they have proven to be very, very innovative. The World Intellectual Property Organization runs this innovation index on how countries are innovative. So you look at it, out of the top 11 positions, 8 are in Europe, of which we are in 4 locations: Sweden, and going to be there in UK, and Germany, and France. Next, we look at the individual locations. Stockholm. Stockholm has only a small population of 10 million, and most of these are in, Sweden has a population of 10 million, but most of them are in Stockholm, about 2 million. They are smaller than Singapore, but they have been known to be the unicorn factory of the world. Home to some of Europe's fastest growing startups. They have the most number of unicorns per capita after Silicon Valley. Yeah. So how did they do that? They are small, but they produce a lot of unicorns, and unicorns companies have attained $1 billion valuation. Quite a mean feat. And of course, they produce Spotify. I think maybe in this room of 80%, more than 80% use Spotify. Okay, next we have Norway. I think this is very close to the underwater robotics that Prof. Ian showed just now. So Norway is very, very strong in maritime. Despite their small size, they are leading the world in greening the maritime tech. You look at the picture on the left, the ferry, it's a zero emission ferry that's navigating one of the Norway's very famous fjords. And wow, scenery is beautiful, isn't it? And then in the other innovation, they're producing one of the world's biggest hydrogen power ships, of course, in the race to get to net zero carbon emissions. So for those who like to play with water, like the underwater robots, well, maybe Norway is a good place to go. Huh? Next, up and coming, London. So you look at the UK at its height, the British Empire. It's a small island down there in the middle, behind the word peak. But yet they control the empire that's 1/4 of the world's land mass. How do they do that? Obviously, it cannot be by being the same as everyone, right? They have to be innovative in first, maybe the military technology, in the way they organize their resources, in the way they organize the society, and basically the way they deploy their all the resources that they have. But of course, as we know, the British Empire is no longer around. It's a shadow of its former self. But London, despite its small size, despite its small country, it's up there, ranked third in the world's global startup ecosystem. And like what Jeannie has mentioned, we're launching London in January 25. I think some of the top sectors we're targeting for London is areas of cybersecurity, fintech, AI. But of course, London is a big ecosystem. There are many other opportunities for those who want to try out. You can consider London. It's a one-year program. Okay. And the other thing about Europe is they bring a lot of they bring a lot of values. They think a lot about life in general. So some of the values here are about tolerance and diversity, education and knowledge, a very well-educated workforce, solidarity, they work together. You look at the European Union, individualism and collectivism, they treasure personal space, but they also look after collective welfare, and most importantly, the care for the environment. And you can, I mean, as this report shows, right, all those values that we saw just now overlaps a lot with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And when the United Nations published a report, you see in the top 7 positions, they're all occupied by European locations, and of which we're again in 4 locations: Sweden, Germany, France, and Norway. So again, small countries, but producing big impact. That's what we want to do as entrepreneurs. Okay, and then the other value that's, I think, highly treasured in entrepreneurs as well as in people going through life is resilience. And there's no better story than Germany. Well, look at this picture of Germany. They fought the First World War. They lost. So, well, after the war, they had to pay a lot of reparation to the Allies. And then, in the short span of 21 years, they rose again to take on the world. Well, the Second World War is in it. They lost again. Well, okay, but never mind. After they lost, they regrouped, they have to rebuild again. They became a founding member of the European Union, and they are Europe's one of the most dominant and largest economy now. So this is Germany now. So as an entrepreneur who needs to be resilient, will rise after many knocks, I think Germany is a great place to learn the work ethos from. Yeah. And again, for alluding to Prof. Ian's videos again, you saw race cars, you saw space. We have those companies in Munich. Munich is an automotive hub. We also have 2 students interning now in a new space tech startup company that is developing communications in low orbit space. So if you like those kind of stuff, think about Munich. Okay, and France. We cannot talk about Europe without talking about France. So France gave the world 3 ideals when they had the French Revolution: liberté, égalité, and fraternité. Ideas that had shaped a lot of the Western world. But they also gave us the word entrepreneur, which came from the French word, who knew, right? But now, most importantly, under the current president, he's really pushing France to become a startup nation. So it's pumping a lot of money into the ecosystem, having them come as his guest of honor at the World Economic Forum. And we are seeing a lot of new innovation coming out from Paris, or from France, not just your Gucci, not just your handbags and cosmetics. Yeah, we see robotics, life sciences, and AI as well. So I think all these values reinforce the traits that I think the entrepreneurs have. So you know, we want to think about Europe, right? So if you're looking to get out of your comfort zone, why not go to a place that is steep in history, rich with culture, endowed with beautiful scenery, top in innovation, and home to diverse, exciting opportunities, and do good at the same time? So why not Europe? So we have a NOC Europe chat group that has over 900 members. So they comprise past students, current students, and prospective students like yourself. So if you want to reach out to your seniors and get updated on events that are happening about NOC Europe, just do a quick scan and join our Telegram group. So with that, yep, I thank you. I just want to give you another 5 seconds to scan the QR code, and then it's back to Jeannie. Yes, Jeannie? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Pinky. Very
All
interesting.
right.
So are you sold? I'm sold. I want to go Europe, but I think I'm too old. So that's why the students here, this is your chance. Now we have actually begin our alarm sharing. The first one will be Kostov, right? Kostov, he went to Silicon Valley, and actually he is from mechanical engineering. Kostov, over to you.
Thank you, Jean.
Okay, no problem. Yes,
Can you guys see my screen?
as we can see, yes.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, so I'll just share quickly about my experience at NOC Silicon Valley, which I went on last year from January to December 2023. So just to begin with my background, as Jeannie mentioned, I am a mechanical engineering major. And so I went on NOC from year 3 semester 2 to year 4 semester 1. So by the point that I applied to NOC, I was involved heavily with unmanned aerial vehicles and drones, mainly because I'm an aeronautics specialization student. And so I knew that Silicon Valley was one of the few places in the world with a huge drone industry. And so I wanted to go there to learn more in a more mature market for that specific industry. And I thought NOC would be a good opportunity to do that. What ended up happening is I did not get an internship at a drone company. In fact, I got an internship at a surgical AI company as a software engineering intern. And this was not something I expected or even necessarily wanted, but it ended up being quite great for, I guess, my development as a whole. At first, it was quite difficult because as a mechanical engineering student, I hadn't done any software engineering per se before. I knew how to code, but that's not nearly enough to succeed in a software engineering internship. And so there was a huge learning curve, especially at the beginning, but I ended up working on some pretty cool projects. There are some projects related to 2D to 3D methods. So using methods like neural radiance fields or like general computer vision, like camera matrices, etc. I also developed a computer vision model to detect dirty frames. So sometimes doctors will put arthroscopes inside a human body, and then the field of view of the camera will be blocked by blood or debris or something else like that. And so I made a model to detect those different things and then output what type of blockage it is. And then finally, coming around to, I think, October at my internship, this was just about when the whole chatbot craze was reaching a fever pitch. And so one of the things my company wanted was a new chatbot that uses the data from our existing AI models that look through the camera feed from the surgery, etc., to answer questions for the patient or the doctor. And so they put me as one of the key developers for the new chatbot. And so I've been working on this from basically the very first demo onwards. And so that was a really cool experience that I got to take on, which is something you'll get at a startup, but not necessarily somewhere else. On top of that, there were other cool experiences that come with going on NOC. So one of those was going to Stanford. We had a lot of guest speakers in our classes, and some cool ones included the chief scientist of OpenAI, as well as the CEO of Ancestry.com. And those are the types of people you may not be able to hear from in a place like Singapore. In addition, I went to 2 hackathons. On the left are some pictures of myself and my friends. And so one of the things that we developed was basically a pair of glasses that lets blind people see, so to speak. So the glass has a camera that basically sees, and you can ask questions and it will answer it for you. In addition, one of the companies at the hackathon, if you can see the picture on the top right, the company called Llama Index brought 2 live llamas to the hackathon that you could pet. So I think that's pretty interesting. In addition, NOC also organized some really cool guest speakers for us. So the Carousel co-founder, Marcus Tan, was in the Bay Area for whatever reason. And so he came in to talk to us, and it was really interesting hearing from someone who went through the NOC process and then went on to create a really successful startup. And finally, I think going to a place like Silicon Valley is really cool because it's inundated with tech. I don't think there's anywhere else where you can drive on a highway and you'll see billboards with advertisements for companies like Vercel or GitHub or Bitbucket. I think it's really cool to be in a place like that, especially if you're working in that type of field. And finally, I think one of the more important parts of NOC is the life, because you're going to a different country and living on your own, earning your own money and paying for everything. And so it's definitely like a free trial of adulthood, so to speak. When my friends and I went there, we had no house, no car, no social security number, no bank account, and 10 days before our internship started. And so on the right, you can see a picture of my housemates and I. This is just when we signed like the lease to our house, which was like 4 days after landing in San Francisco. And then throughout the year, you learn to manage your expenses and time. You're forced to develop new hobbies and make some really good friends because you leave everything else behind in Singapore. And I also think that living in a foreign city can expose you to, I guess, different environments. I think Singapore is very, very safe. And so with San Francisco, it's really beautiful. I think there's a lot of nature to enjoy, but it's also quite ugly in that there are a lot of homeless people. You'll see people taking drugs, etc., on the street. And I think it's important to live in that type of environment and know how to traverse this kind of city, even if in the future you're just going to go on vacation to different places. But alas, all good things must end, and so did NOC. I came back in December 2023, and for the last semester, because of NOC, I didn't have to do a final year project, so I just took a few of my final classes, finished my exams, and the whole time I've actually been continuing my internship from NOC, so I'm still working at the company I was at. In addition, in August, I will be going for a master's in computer vision at Carnegie Mellon University. So yeah, and that's generally my experience with NOC. I think I greatly enjoyed it, and I think it's a good opportunity for a lot of people in NUS. And here are my contact details if you want to reach out to me and ask any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kostov. And yes, I agree with you. San Francisco is a big mess now. Okay, I was there last year. Wow, last November. Wow, I was so worried. Okay, Alvin, over to you. Alvin, where
Hi.
are you? Okay,
All
let's
right.
introduce
Yeah.
Alvin. Okay, he is
Computer
computer
engineering.
engineering student.
Yeah.
Yes, he went to the same place, Silicon Valley. Are you and Kostov the brothers, buddy, or what? Buddies.
Well, yeah, I
That
mean, we
means
stay in the
before
same
you
house
went,
for a
also
year,
buddy. You
so
come
we're,
back, also
yeah,
buddy. Never
yeah,
quarrel,
correct.
nothing, right? I hope.
That's right. We had no choice but to stay in the same house together. So
Haven't become enemy, because
yeah.
no lah, become
Okay,
best
sounds
buddies
good.
already.
I just want to make sure you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We can,
Sounds
loud and
good.
clear, yes.
All right. Okay. My name is Alvin. I went to NOC Silicon Valley last year. A little bit about me. I'm a year 4 computer engineering student. Well, technically, I just graduated a couple of days ago. During my time, iDP was my second major. And while I was in school before my NOC, I took part in programs in startups like Alpha Electric, Interseed, pretty good companies which actually got funding from like governments and other organizations. Then I also went on to work at larger firms like TikTok. And during this period, I gained a lot of experience about growing companies from 0 to 1 and also maintaining companies at a very large scale. For me, what was really important is to make technically challenging and meaningful products. That's why I joined iDP. And that's partially the reason why I want to go for NOC, because I wanted to learn how to scale companies from 1 to 100. I think the reason I want to do this presentation today is to get across an idea to you. So when I was at that standstill before choosing NOC, I had a couple of options. I could do an internship in Singapore. I could go for another program like ICP, or I could do something like NOC. At that time, I did not know what the answer was, but now, after a year, I knew that my answer should be NOC. And I think the point of this presentation is get you to that same idea. Back then, I guess the reason why I want to do it is because I thought there was an aspect of global entrepreneurship that you only get when you go overseas. Singapore is an interesting and talented market. A lot of VCs do care about it, but there's also a real learning curve to dealing with a different market. For example, the US. Understanding what niches exist is so important. Here, a niche might be 100 to 1,000 people. Over there, a niche can serve up to millions of people. It's insane. The US market is also different in terms of standards. For example, if you try to ship a product here in Indonesia, everyone is going to rank it like 4 or 5 stars for anything that you release in general. But if you release it in the US, the standards are a lot higher. So when you release something, even though it can be a prototype, there are certain benchmarks that you need to meet. Apart from that, there were unique technical problems that only existed in Silicon Valley. And due to my previous startup experience, I thought it would be a good match for the program. The company that I entered at was called Unit 21, Series C, which is a company that's gotten around 3 rounds of funding. I think it was in the range of like 50 to 70 million for the company, and that existed in the heart of San Francisco. What we did is that we fought financial fraud. And during my time, I performed my role as a full stack software engineer. So I had previously done front end and back end. This was my first time kind of doing everything together. The duties were simple, weekly sprints, on-call duties, spearheading new projects, something you do at a startup, even or at any internship here. So I would say my company was larger than some of the other companies out there, which meant I had to deal with a lot of issues at scale. Again, which is something that I wanted to learn during my time there. I also managed to take part in projects where I could make special contribution, such as using AI for customer-facing features, allowing customers to essentially use a chatbot as Costa suggested. It was a very big thing at the time to just, you give us what you want and we'll take the data that you submitted to us and give you the graphical information that you need. And apart from that, I was also involved in identifying and fixing multitudes of bugs during the program. Startups have a lot more bugs than some other companies, I will say. It's something that you really need to be prepared for when you join. But yeah, you feel free to ask me more questions later about that. Overall, the NOC experience wasn't just about the work. There was also other opportunities. We extended classes at Stanford University. So you get to meet people like Ilya Sutsukar, who was the chief science officer at OpenAI. We managed to meet Frederick Carres, like the COO of Okta, and a lot more people who were just inspiring and lovely to talk to. These people shared experiences of how they started their startups, what the challenges are during that process, and it's a good learning outcome. Apart from that, we also attended a lot of events, both from SF and SG events, where people like Andrew Ng were there, Circle Life founder Abhishek Jain were there. These talks, I think, might not be mandatory for NOC students, but I think you should try your best to go out and get access to it. Because I think these people, when they share their ideas and their life stories, it really gives you perspective on how you can create something of your own startup, the struggles that happen, and what you need to do to get to where you want. Apart from that, it's not just about work and career. There's also a lot of fun. I mean, picture 3 over here shows Halloween. It's something that you definitely can't experience in Singapore. Maybe at Sentosa or like Resorts World, that's the max, but it's a whole different experience here. I remember when I was going for Halloween, I can't remember exactly, but I know it's someone from the NOC staff. He was trying to get two people in Halloween costumes to start fighting on the main street. So obviously I can't I can't name who did that, but that was one of the more interesting experiences. But it was just a normal experience there because people are excited, they're in the mood, and they want to have fun. And apart from that, it's not just it's also meeting a lot of interesting people. I worked in Block 71, which is kind of a hub for startups and entrepreneurs there. It was interesting meeting people like this, like who is the ambassador to SF from Singapore, and getting the insight in what how Singapore and SF can work together and entrepreneurship works across on a global scale. The biggest takeaways for me were quite simple. I mean, the US market is big. Every niche offers millions of customers. The passion to change the world is important. That you need skills and tools, but the passion is the first important thing if you want to make a change in the world. There are, we also had a lot of technical insights. So problems at technical depth are choices, but expensive choices that need to be thought out. And these are a lot of lessons that you can only learn when you work in startups like this. When you go to a big company or much smaller company, you just never confront these kind of issues. Again, something that I always believe is that finding a co-founder is, I say sometimes, but it's always harder than finding a wife, in my opinion. A co-founder, right? I mean, if you have issues, the problem becomes that when you separate, it's not just about separating between a relationship, it's about dealing with billions of dollars in fallout. Making sure to take the time to vet your co-founder, making sure this is the person that you want to build your life with, or at least your company. It's a crucial task, and it's something that you can really learn while you're on your NOC program. And there's a lot more things, don't be close-minded, try uncomfortable things. Pickleball is some sport where you hit like a tennis ball with a table tennis racket. It's so weird, but it's so popular there. And if you don't learn it, you can't talk to any VCs. It's such a big issue. But anyway, these are the things that you can only learn when you're there and actually trying it out. So I suggest that you do go through the experience. The biggest takeaway at the end of the day, the people, right? I think even though there's so much information to be had, the people that I met during NOC people who are locals like in SF or juniors or even people from other NOC programs across the US or even my housemates and dear friends. I mean, we have a lot of close connections, and these are people that I still keep in contact with today across the world, and we agreed to meet up and see each other again over time. At the end of the day, I just want to say NOC at the start of before NOC started, I had doubts on what those experiences would be. But NOC gives you such a unique and special experience, a lot of insight into what startups can be, but also at the same time gives you the time and resources to delve deep into who you are and what you want to do with your life. It's a unique experience, it's a unique opportunity, and I think only NOC really offers it. With that in mind, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. There's a lot of fun experiences and a lot of meaningful experiences to be had as part of NOC. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. These are my contact information for the Instagram, Telegram, if you want to contact me. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Alvin. So how everyone agree? NUS journey is not only about studying, not only studying in class. You cannot study all the time, okay? Right. This is the thing that I want to tell all of you here, okay? And anyway, during my school days, I don't actually study a lot. Okay. So anyway, the next is Kai.
Sorry,
Let's
can we
move
just take a
away
break?
from SV to somewhere else. Guess where Kai went? Yes, just yeah, can take a break. How many minutes? 2 minutes?
No,
Or 1 minute?
I was just gonna check because there's somebody in the chat. I think Jared, right? Jared.
Yes, I already
think, had
answered the question already just
Okay,
now.
okay. So it's all
Yes.
set. Okay, yeah. Then I think we can continue.
Can continue? Okay, good. So let's have Kai here. Kai, where are you? Kai. Cheng
Yeah.
Kai Hoi. Is your
Yeah.
name is Kai Hoi, is it? We call you
Yeah.
Kai. Okay,
Kai.
right. Kai is a material science IDP student, right? He went to Stockholm. For how long? It's for 1 year. SV and Stockholm are a 1 year program. Okay, Stockholm started many years ago, right? Very successful. So let's hear from Kai. Kai, over to you.
Yep.
What did you do in Stockholm?
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, so like the previous two, today I'm about to tell you my NOC experience in Stockholm, slightly different from Silicon Valley. So a little bit background on myself. As what Jean mentioned, I'm studying material science in IDP. I was the previous batch of Stockholm students. And also, kind of a bit of my background. I have a lot of experiences, though a lot of people might question why is it so drastically different industries, such as, your Big Four and then research at the same time. So kind of the notable milestones is that, during my time in Stockholm, I managed to get both the VIP grant and the entrepreneurship Jacob Pang scholarship. So kind of cool things that you can get if you come to NOC. So kind of, I'll share a little bit more about my experience. So where I work at Higher Labs. So what Higher Labs do is basically they develop sensors that helps to mitigate water damages. So it's kind of sensors that you install in your pipe. And then when there's leakages, pressure drop, these kind of sensors can tell you if there's a water leakages, and then you can shut off those valves. So it's kind of a very big industry in Europe since houses there are big and you experiences the 4 seasons. I mean, contrast to my friends at SV, I think kind of the roles I had at the startup was very, very, very vast. As a startup, I did a lot of different things. I did analytics, operations, technology implementation, project management, you name it. I probably did it already. So I guess it's a very fruitful experience. You get to learn a lot. And as what you like to say, you are like the jack of all trades, master of none. You get to learn a little bit of everything. And I mean, I guess in a good way, you get to experience what you actually enjoy and what you actually don't. So I guess it's pretty helpful for you in your future endeavors as well. So kind of extracurriculars in Stockholm, what Jean has mentioned, Stockholm is kind of like the bustling startup ecosystem in Europe. And indeed, it's really very lively with lots of startups there. So I mean, as Silicon Valley has Y Combinator, in Europe, it has Norscan House. So it's equally prestigious. accelerator program where students can join this. I mean, students, not as students. Aspiring companies can join this and then go through a program when they can push this, into tech unicorns and many more. So aside from that, I also did lots of networking, lots of traveling as well, as you can see from the last photo. And I say that, this kind of experiences is really, really kind of life-opening, life-changing and eye-opening, in that you really get to kind of be a better and newer version of yourself, which you have never thought you could have been. So I mean, through all this, we also studied at KTH University, and mostly our studies is actually related to entrepreneurship, innovation, and of course, a lot of pitching and bouncing ideas off each other. So I know that everybody here is all prospective iDP students. I guess this is a good way to kind of venture out to explore more of the business side of things if you guys are interested in starting your own company. But I believe these kind of skills are quite fundamentals to learning if you want to build your own venture in the future. So kind of unusual things that I kind of find in a startup is more general, I would say. I would like not to pick out specific details. So, I mean, being in a startup is ambiguous and uncertain. In fact, in my batch, one of my batchmate, his company actually closed down, so he was actually jobless for the rest of the duration of the program. So I guess you gotta embrace this ambiguity and always have a changing mindset that you're able to accept uncertainty in your life. So I guess that's a very good growing element. And you know that working at startup, you have very flat hierarchy. You have equal say, at least for the time when I work in my company, and you're not afraid to tell the CEO your opinions and thoughts towards other things, and you'll be embraced equally with everyone. So this kind of my biggest takeaways. If I could summarize it, I guess, as what the previously mentioned, you grow up really, very fast in a way that you might not notice it now, but having to iron, buy your own groceries, clean a room, going out and meeting new friends and everything, you really have a lot of personal growth. Secondly, I also ask, if you want to embark on this program, is to be hungry, always to learn and learn more. So don't be afraid to question the status quo. Or I guess the best way to learn is to always question the things that you're doing. But that's not to say is that you be defiant, of course, but is to have an open mind. Got to learn a lot so that you can grow a lot as well. And thirdly, I guess that, your ideas is only as good as the people believing in it. So I mean, from my experience, I guess that you really got to sell your passion to people and not really your idea. You could be the next iPhone, but nobody will have belief in your idea. So I guess these kind of things, you have to build a lot of network, you have to brush out your presentation, and I guess really be passionate in really the things that you do. So the lastly is resilience. Fun fact is that I really failed like 5 pitch before I managed to get my VIP grant. So I guess you kind of really had to embrace resilience, learn and then improve on it. And that's how you really get success. So what's next? Try to start my own startup, work for a startup. Honestly, if I tell you guys right now, I'm not really sure myself. But I think one thing for sure is that I can tell you is that I want to continue to be in this space. And in the long run, I also want to ideally have my own company. So I guess this is kind of the fun that being in a startup brings to you. You always be uncertain and you always be faced with new challenges. And if you enjoy that, I think this program is really for you. Yeah. And this is my socials. If you guys have any questions, you guys can just come and ask me.
Thank you, Kai. Yeah, you see, Stockholm is so happening in the startup space. I mean, startup space, we send you over there to experience the kind of startup ecosystem environment. Hope that you can have some interest into entrepreneurship. We always believe that entrepreneurship can be nurtured. Entrepreneurs can be nurtured. If you give you the interest, give you the tools, everything, if you want to be one, you can be one. Something like that. Okay, next we have Xingyi. Now this segment, the next segment is current student in location. Means that they are now still on NOC program and they're coming to tell you what they are doing there. I mean, in certain areas, we have Xingyi in Paris now. Hi, Xingyi. How is Paris? Is Paris very cold? Paris is known to be very cold, I think. Super
Hi,
cold.
sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes, can.
Yeah,
So
I'm yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm
how
actually
many
at work
degrees
right
there?
now. It's
Oh, okay.
like
Yes.
8 degrees. Yeah, I'm actually at
Wow.
work right now.
I envy you
Like,
so much. That's very,
yeah, so I took a
very
little break from work to do this. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay, over to you, huh? Thank you.
Yes. Hi, everybody. So I'm Singy. I'm actually in Paris right now, and I'm from the third batch of NOC Paris. So I'll be telling you about my experiences right now. I think I'm still currently on my NOC. So I think maybe my insights and like everything that I've learned from my experience is not as like encapsulating or not as like it's slightly different from what you've heard so far, but I will do my best to share whatever I've learned so far with you guys. Yeah, so about me, I'm actually a year 3 biomedical engineering student. I'm doing a second major in iDP and I do a minor in computer science. I actually only started my minor in computer science last semester. This will be important later on. Yeah, but yes, most about my background in NUS, I'm in the iDP, so I've been doing quite a few medtech projects. Actually done a few projects under Dr. KZ. Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to join NOC mainly was because I wanted to experience working outside of Singapore. I think given the choice between SCP and NOC, both give you experiences living overseas. But I think to me, the working experience in another culture was gonna be very, very valuable to me. So that's the main reason why I wanted to try for NOC. And on top of that, I also get to study in a partner university overseas. So it gives me like a little bit of the best of both worlds in a way, of both like SCP as well as doing an industrial attachment. And I really wanted to be able to expose myself to an entrepreneurial community. Yep, sorry. So I'm having a little bit of trouble changing my slides. Yes, and not just the entrepreneurial community, but also like the friendships that I can that I make along the way. Yeah, so these were kind of my few reasons why I decided to try for NOC, and eventually I got in, and I'm currently working at Calliope, which is a medtech startup that we are actually developing a natural language processing model to detect mental health conditions through a voice recording. So what the patients do is they will just record maybe like a 1-minute snippet of their voice, and through our models, we can actually detect and monitor mental health conditions such as schizophrenia, anxiety, and depression. Yeah, so about my background just now, I mentioned that I was actually doing biomedical engineering and mostly working on like hardware stuff. But I actually landed a job at a software engineering company. I actually landed a software engineering role, and now I'm actually working on an app. Yeah, so this is my team. It's quite a small team, about 10 people, and this is the app that we're working on. And I was actually very, very nervous coming to this role because, like I mentioned just now, I only started my CS minor the semester right before I came for NOC. So software engineering or like coding in general is not something that I was super familiar with, but I think it was a very good opportunity for me to try out something new and to further my skills in coding. And so I am actually very happy in this role right now. And I think that this role has actually made me realize how much I enjoy coding. I think it's a very nerdy thing to say, but I really enjoy coding. And yeah, I love that I was able to find this passion and to do it in an industry, in a startup that is a medtech startup, which is what I've been studying. Yeah. Yes. So currently I'm actually working on the app, and I'm implementing new features on the app, and I actually got the opportunity to spearhead like a new and entirely, so they have a research app and they also have a product app. So the product app is like not even in production. I mean, they haven't even started on it, but I have been given the opportunity to start the initial works on the product app, and I'm doing it by myself, doing like the most foundation, like or doing all the foundation. So I think it's a really, really good opportunity. I would not be able to get this kind of experiences anywhere other than in a startup. And yeah, I'm really, really grateful that my company trusts me so much, even though like I, again, do not have much background in coding. Yes, and my company is actually located in Station F, which is the largest startup campus in the world, which is home to 1,000 companies. Actually, I'm in a little like seminar room right now in Station F, and if I look out of my windows, I can see like it's just tons of people everywhere working on their own projects and like different companies just all over the place. And it's really, really cool to be able to see like all these different people passionate about whatever they're doing and coming here, like gathering here in Station F and just working together. And like every day I walk past people having business meetings, different companies, like my company's biggest competitor is actually right beside us. So it's quite cool to see that kind of not just competition, but like collaboration. Station F hosts many entrepreneurial events. So this is a picture from one of the events. So there's a range of events, like from networking to different workshops. They also always invite like different founders for Ask Me Anything sessions. So recently they invited the founder of ClassPass to come and give a sharing, and everybody was just able to come and ask any questions they like. And like, of course, away from just entrepreneurial events, they also have like social events such as this Valentine's Day pop-up, which I was very, very lucky to have been able to attend in the very, very first week that I was here. And it was very cool, like seeing everybody come together as a community and just having fun and networking with each other. Yes, so other than just other than the work, I also have made many very good connections with the people around me. So here's like some pictures from the people in NOC Paris together with me. And we also managed to make friends with like people from other NOC locations in Norway. And I think the great thing about Europe in general is that everything is so accessible. Europe, I mean, within the European region, you can travel without a passport. It's so easy to get from location to location. So makes traveling and making connections so much easier. We also had the opportunity to meet the president of NUS Enterprises who came to Paris to visit us. And of course, like making international connections with people from Germany and China. And I think it's really, really cool to be able to hear about people's stories and, I mean, different backgrounds from everywhere. Yeah. So here are some of the key takeaways that I have had through my time here. I think the very first and foremost would be independent living. Yeah, I actually live in Hall in Singapore, but I think coming here to a totally different country is like a whole new ball game. I think like someone mentioned just now, it's like a little glimpse into adulthood, and it's true. Like I have my own house now. I have to settle all my meals, my transport, my household chores, and I'm able to live life without like influences or pressure from any other sources in my life. So that's like a pretty cool and interesting living experience. And of course, a different working culture. I think especially European working culture, I think my Asian values have been challenged a lot. Like I was given the chance or I was actually asked to critique my supervisor's work and to critique my supervisor's code and to critique my supervisor and to critique him in a arena that I'm not super familiar with. I was actually like super uncomfortable doing it. But I realized now that like they really value every opinion that you have, and it's actually like something that they look out for. And I think the third was that I'm able to go really far as long as I'm willing to learn and adapt. I think the mindset, like the hunger for knowledge and just wanting to absorb as much as you can, it will really bring you so far. I think coming here, the learning curve was super steep for me. But now that, I mean, I was asking so many questions and I was doing so much research just to like even do a super simple task. Yeah, but now that I've like settled into the groove of things, I think, I mean, it's just been so much fun learning so many different things. And definitely the immersion in the entrepreneurial community. I think the classes, especially in the partner university, we are all taking entrepreneurial related classes. And I think IDP, we're all in IDP here, and there is an element of entrepreneurship within the IDP classes, but I think here it actually kind of challenged my values, or like challenged the way I thought about entrepreneurship, learning from both Singapore side and like the Paris side. And they do have like quite different views on entrepreneurship here. So I think it's very nice to be able to like understand both sides. Yeah. And yeah, here's my contact information if you want to find out more. And I really, really hope that you guys will join NOC. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Xingyi. You see, Xingyi. Means you win the station F. That means you just feeling so cool. They're sitting there with so many bustling activities going on, or so many entrepreneurial kind of vibes getting along, right? This kind of thing. I was asking you the other day. I was asking you the other day about the vibes that you have. All that, right? Yeah.
Sorry, I think your connection is not great. Was not able to catch what you said.
I'm glad that you have experienced that now.
Oh dear, I think we lost her. Maybe we can go to Ningxiang.
Yeah, sure. So let me just share my screen. Hi. So I'm a year 2 computer engineering major in IDP as well as my second major. And I'm sharing about my experience in Norway. So firstly, why NOC? Not to say the most important, but a pretty big reason was that there's very good synergy between NOC and the various programs I'm in. So there's mapping between IDP and NOC, and it also clears the internship requirements of an engineering major. And also it helps to clear the global pathways requirement for NUS college students if you are one. So, but further that more into detail, there are some very okay. Let me. Okay, I guess I'll continue. So yeah, another thing is just living alone. Because where my workplace is located, it's on the outskirts of Oslo. So I chose a place that's a lot closer to work, and as a result, a lot further from my peers in Oslo. But I do meet up with them quite frequently. A very cool thing about NRC is just how different not just the culture, but the entire cityscape. For example, the picture on the bottom left, that's me skiing at a mountain that's a 15-minute bus ride from my place. And there are these sort of mountains peppered all throughout Oslo. It's just a very different sort of way of life. You see people sort of skiing on the roads instead of like cycling or whatever when it's winter. It's just a very different way of life. The people especially, the people in NOC are a lot more sort of, they have passions that they are quite articulate on, and it helps to give a sort of very nice vibe where it feels like ideas are getting thrown around, ideas that better the world and things like that. And also just the very different sort of culture, like my peers in the European NOCs have mentioned, the CEO really treasures what you talk about. Your colleagues really want to know what you're thinking about, and they take your advice, your thoughts, your opinions, even though you might feel like you're underqualified. They do want sometimes that fresh perspective on things. And also just meeting people that have a very different priority and very different outlook in life. So went to different conventions and so on and so forth. So I want to talk about Aqua Alam. So Aqua Alam is similar to the previous speaker from Stockholm. It's a water sensor company sort of, but we also do data analytics, and we focus more on the biomedical side of things. So we are a lot more infrastructural. We can't really be implemented in homes. So And I got alum, I've done a lot of different things. I have done Figma for presentations. I have done the backend sort of updating of things and also making sure that the software and the hardware interfaces well, and also worked on the hardware itself. So on top of this, I also did a lot of other tasks, things like implementing ISO certification requirements, things like making sure that the like networking, making sure that the company's sort of social network, social details are updated and so on and so forth. I also went for a lot of conferences. For example, there's Wind Water in Stockholm, which is one of the largest water utility conferences in the world. So there are just a lot of different connections to the whole European market, and as a result, the global market as a whole. That's very interesting. Yeah, but it's not just about work in Oslo. They are very focused on work-life balance, on what you do outside of work as well, because they feel like that helps you to develop a sort of more lateral thinking outside of just the specialty industry they are in. So for example, I went to the Nordic Game Jam last month, where I worked with some of the best artists I've worked with like ever for games. And we developed a 3D game involving a cat and a fish and robots that want to take your fish away from you. But yeah, so outside of that, I also have side projects that I am able to do in my evenings, working on game dev and learning Norwegian, which is a lot easier to learn than a lot of other European languages for an English speaker. So yeah, for takeaways, other than all the things about entrepreneurship and work, which my peers have mentioned, I really want to focus on how important your friends are, and maybe mentors if you have them, because you are bound to get tired eventually, especially in a program like NOC, where you are thrusted into an environment that's unfamiliar and very different culturally. And yeah, and after NOC, I have a clearer idea for what I want to do in both academically and for my side projects. And I have a much deeper understanding of a specific industry that I have grown to quite like, because the drinking water in Oslo, I didn't mention it earlier, but the drinking water in Oslo is the best water I've had. Like it's really up there, and just seeing what goes into maintaining it and all that, it just gives you a fresh sort of perspective on specific industries and how niche industries can be very exciting and very sort of something that you can be very passionate about. And yeah, that's a very short presentation from me, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone for the presentation. Thanks Ning Xiang, very interesting. Sorry for just now, my internet was just a little bit lag. So now I'm back. I mean, I think M1 still can be more trustable. I changed to M1. Anyway, so now is our very quick Q&A questions session. Right. So if you have still remember the speakers, we got Christoph and Alvin from Silicon Valley. We got Kai from Stockholm, and Xingyi now in Paris, and Ning Xiang now in Norway. So any questions for all of them? You're all okay? We are almost coming to the end. Just get a couple of questions, and we are off for the night. So how? Any questions? Everybody no question ah? Oh, I see one question there. What's the question? How is this funded? Oh, this one of course we give you enough backup, means that we pay you a salary every month, so that you don't have to worry, and it's already the usual standard of living. Of course, you want to go clubbing every night, go restaurants to eat every night, not enough for you. You must learn how to cook. Right. Everyone here, all the alums, you're cooking, right? I think your cooking skills, culinary skills become much better when you're NOC. Or how? I mean, you are still not cooking, or just cook a few times a day, a week. It's edible, it's fine already, right? Actually, it's true lah. You must learn how to cook to really cut costs. And also you must learn how to count. I mean, be independent, be thrifty. I mean, don't spend so much money on that. Of course, it'll be enough. Don't worry about that, right? How is it? Any other questions? If there are no questions, let me ask the 5 students here. Why do you choose NOC program on top of
Jeannie,
yes?
actually the follow-up questions on the money question in the chat.
How is it? How is this funded? You want to answer, Pinky? Just now I already said. I mean, something. You want to take this
Not the
question?
funded, to the tuition fees and all that. After that.
Do we pay international students? We still continue to pay tuition fees as per normal, right? So it is the normal tuition fee to be paid, and subsidized part, I don't think so, but we do give some top up, all these to the different colleges, right? In the Southeast in Asia top up, we are not into problem into money. Yes. When you are being selected for the program, we'll tell you more. Okay, so this is already answered already, right? And the question about tuition fee is actually talking about university school fees. That's what I'm trying to cover. You continue to pay your university school fees, and during the 3rd year when in location, you still continue to pay your school fees there. Means that as per your university education. Okay, is this understood? Right? If not understand, if not understood, then we can touch on this later on, right? So the next question is that, is there a good chance to convert into full-time position considering the companies are startup in faraway countries? This one is possible. We do have students did that when coming back from NOC already, they finish off their semester and after that they go to the location in, for example, SV, for example, in Stockholm. All these places, all these examples I heard before. Yes, it's possible, but not guarantee. Of course, must depend on the performance. During your time, right? Right. Okay, it's possible. Yes. Then how about, is there a suitable pathway to take in NOC if I wish to pursue motorsport? Wow, this motorsport thing we cannot guarantee you we do have that, because this is something very niche, very targeted. So Pinky, do you have motorsport in your location?
First, I think we want to clarify what you mean by motorsport.
Yeah,
If it's about
that's right.
racing, if it's about
No.
racing in the motorsport, then I think confirm don't have. But we don't talk about automotive industry and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure most locations will have some form of some companies or that. Yeah.
Yes. Our new location, Philippines, they have something like esports, something about sports kind of thing. Yes. So I would advise this student here, don't be too targeted into this area, okay? Because you just widen your choices, that'll be better. They means into different, more different kinds of industry, not only into motorsport. Okay, right. So how does IDP differ from eScholars aspirational project module? So how Dr. Tang or Prof Ian, you want to take this question?
Yeah, so the IDP is a little bit more focused on interdisciplinary learning, whereas I think the eScholars aspirational project, I don't know too much about it. Kok Sui, do you know?
For eScholars, the focus is to be able to allow you to experience different topics and from different majors and within the given amount of time of the 3 years. And at the fourth year, you're even embark on a master's program.
But I think the aspirational project module, I think, is slightly different, right? This is I'm don't quote me on this, but I think it's mostly still individual projects. And whereas the IDP projects all tend to be group projects, and so then you work in a team with different sort of backgrounds and complement each other. I think there was also another question about whether you wanted to do the minor. So for students who are doing the minor in IDP, then essentially you kind of take the two classes and then you do one engineering design project, which is 2 semesters long, and then that's it. And there was another question about how the program is fairly structured and can you start IDP maybe in your 3rd year and 4th year? I think you have to declare before the start of your 3rd year. So depending a little bit on whether you're doing the minor or the major, if you're doing the major, I think it's a bit hard to try to only start it in the 3rd year. So if you're doing the minor, then maybe some possibilities of taking some of these classes concurrently. But ideally, you want to start a little bit earlier. And then there was another question about poly students, right? Is anybody here from poly? I think everybody's in the JC chat, right? Yeah. So I think for poly students, I think you do get exempted from some requirements, but I think you still have enough credits to actually do both the major or the minor. So that's, I think, still an option for poly students.
Okay, so this is considered answered, right? So all that. Then maybe come to this. The IDP differs from eScholar. That one, this is also
Yeah, I think we just answered that.
almost
Yeah.
answered, right? Yes. Then how about the next question? Then how different do companies in Singapore perceive and receive students with NOC internship, since they do not have the connection and the conversion opportunities in Singapore? I heard a lot of positions carried over from internship here in Singapore. Pinky, you want to take this question?
Okay, I try, but I don't really understand this
Yeah.
question. Is it about the NOC program in Singapore and the companies that are on the Singapore program? And whether you can continue to work in these companies after you finish your internship? Is that what this question is about? Maybe the person who asked this question want to unmute yourself and clarify. Can they do that?
Sorry, if I can add, I think the student is
Yes,
asking
please.
how the
Yes.
internships taken overseas are perceived in Singapore. So how are these international experiences seen? Because they aren't. I think they're also saying that I think a lot of people who do internships in Singapore, especially let's say their industrial attachment, they can get return offers for that company. Right? But at least I can answer this to some extent. So I'm personally still working at the company I was at in NOC. But a lot of my friends, including Alvin, are no longer doing that. But they have managed to find pretty good positions at pretty good companies. I've got like some of my friends who got offers from Shopee, offers from TikTok. One of my friends is interning at Apple. One of my friends is interning at Binance. And so all this is after going on NSE Silicon Valley. And so even if these companies are not very well known because they're startups, the fact that it's international, the fact that it's year-long, the fact that you can take initiative and head your own projects in this company is definitely valuable to employers in Singapore. And they like seeing that you have international experience. I think that's definitely something that's like useful and very unique in your resume to have. So yeah, I think that's how I would answer that question.
Okay, this is answered already. Then the next one from Hamani. Is it possible to do NOC or exchange in year 2, even though the IDP structure only shows year 3, SEM 2 as a possible time for this? How, Prof. Ian?
I think Ning Xiang is typing an answer. Maybe Ning Xiang, you can help the answer.
Yeah, so I'm doing it in year 2, SEM 2, despite being on IDP, because so if you take the 1 year long program, you can do it year 2, SEM 2 to year 3, SEM 1, because you will clear one of your 2 SEM long projects. If you do it for 6 months and you choose to do it in year 2, SEM 2, you will need to take the first 2 SEM project from year 3, SEM 1 to year 3, SEM 2, and then a second 2 SEM project from year 3, SEM 2 to year 4, SEM 1, I believe. Something like that. So there'll be an overlap where you'll be working on 2 intensive projects for 1 SEM, and then afterwards you'll be like as per normal. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Great, thanks. I think there was a question just now. I don't know if it's disappeared, that whether you have to do IDP to go on NOC. So it's not a requirement. But the IDP does prepare you very well for NOC. So that's why we are kind of doing this event together, because I think there are a lot of IDP students that do go to join NOC, right?
We have answered all the questions already. So maybe before we end this topic here, the question that I want to ask all the 5 students here is that why do you choose NOC after going thinking over so many options that you can go on SCP, you can go on your other CD kind of internship, ATAP, something like that, right? You can, so probably, and Dr. Teng, the CD student can go on ATAP, right? I mean, all that. Then, and also other kind of internship offered by CDE. So why NOC, not others, for our 5 students here, 5 IDP NOC students here. Who wants to go first?
I guess I
Alvin?
can begin. Oh,
Who? Kostaf?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, at least personally, I think having, even before I went on NOC, I thought that having a 1-year-long overseas experience would be definitely more interesting than something like exchange, where you're just studying in another university versus working in another country. I think it's more valuable and enriching. And then in comparison to the industrial attachment that is mandatory with mechanical engineering, I also think that it was going to be more interesting to work in an overseas place with a different market. I gain more skills and learn new things. Looking back at it, if I chose to do an industrial attachment, I probably would have done a mechanical engineering internship to go with the rest of my experiences and stayed in that line. But going on NOC, I ended up doing software engineering, and now I'm doing that for my career. So I think if you're willing to take risks and you're okay with change, it can be quite interesting and very beneficial to your career as a whole. So, yeah.
Okay, Kostaf. Thanks a lot. Then how about the rest? Who wants to answer next?
Yeah,
Alvin?
I can go. So I think for me, it wasn't such a big change compared to core stuff. I was doing the same role that I was doing previously. I think for me, there was a lot more learning outcome there, especially since you're working in the same company for a year. Like you have to deal with kind of the mistakes that happen at the start of the year, at the end kind of thing. But at the same time, you kind of have to stay for a lot of projects that go for the longer term. We had to do entire migrations for like a lot of databases. Like those kind of things maybe you are only a part of for a couple of months at an internship here or for IA, but staying an entire year, you can see things from start to end. And I think it's a really meaningful and useful experience, something that you won't get outside. Overall, I would say NOC is still recommended, especially because of it's not just about the work, but it's also about learning from people in the country that you're doing your NOC program at. I met like angel investors while going for crabbing. I've met like students who are doing their own startups who asked to just join them in their startups over there when they begin. And I think there's a lot of different people you can meet. And as I said before, I think the biggest takeaway is you should also meet people outside of the Singapore perspective and learn from them. And your career is also important. And I think if you go for NOC, I haven't really seen anyone that's struggling with their career afterwards. So I don't think you should be too concerned, but I would say the best to alleviate your concerns is to find someone from a major, someone who did NOC for like a 6-month or 1-year program that you like, and ask them how the experience was. And I think you'll get a pretty good idea of what you can expect.
Okay. Anything else? Who wants to go next? Sini?
Yeah, I can go. I
Mhm.
think for me, the reason why I chose to do NOC over like SCP or local industrial attachment was because I felt that NOC was like a very perfect marriage of like everything that I wanted to do. I think, I mean, other than just obviously working at a startup, you also get to experience classes at a partner university. So it's like kind of SCP in that way, but like shifting the focus away from just classes, you also have the work, and you get to work not just in Singapore but like in a different market, in like a such a like Singapore is just really small, yeah, and you get to go out there and you get to experience like the European market for me. I mean, yeah, and also sorry, my AirPod fell out. Yeah, and I think also like being able to be in this entrepreneurial community. I think not just the people that I meet on NOC, but also like my seniors and like perhaps my juniors next time, the people that I've met at Station F, the people that I'm meeting in Paris now, or like anywhere around Europe. I think these connections and these networkings are like so important, especially when I want to start my own startup in the future. Yeah, so this is why I decided to come on NOC.
Maybe I can go next. So like for me, NOC is just a very like, especially going somewhere like Norway with such a
So how
different
about
sort
Ning
of
Xiang? How?
yeah, such a
Can you hear me?
thank you for the
Yes.
introduction. Yeah, so it's such a different work-life balance, such a different culture, such a different way of communicating between the different sort of tiers of people. It just shows like possibility, not really shows possibility, it's just a very different pace of life and something that you wouldn't really expect if you were to do an internship in Singapore most of the time. So it's exploring, and it also gives you time to explore your own interests and just meet people with a very different outlook in life, with very different priorities, with very heavy focus on sustainability, which is, I think, not nearly as big in Singapore, and like very specific aspects of sustainability and in your quality of life. So it's just a very different sort of culture, and it helps to broaden your mind.
Yes, nice. How about Kai? How? Why? Why NOC? Why you don't go to SEP? Why? Or
I
other? Why?
I think the straightforward point is that you get to travel and get paid to do it lah. It's the best of both worlds, like what
No
they
lah. Travel cannot say. I mean, well, obvious. We don't send you to go traveling, ma, Kai.
Of course, of course.
Right.
But it's on the weekend. I'm saying that, you get paid to
Huh?
do, you get
Do
paid,
what?
then at the
Oh.
weekend you can travel out of all of the country. It's like, the marriage of both, the best of both worlds. And you get to really explore a lot of yourself, and the company, and like the working culture there. So it's like a win-win in any case instead of going for SCP.
Yes, yeah, you need to finish all the work you have first. You need to finish all the NOC assignments, all the homework I ask you to do first before you think of traveling out during the weekend. If you couldn't finish your homework, all that, you should stay in your house to finish everything, right?
Yes, of course.
This one, because you got all the potential NOC applicant here, right? So we have to make it very clear. Yeah.
Of course,
All
if
that,
not,
right?
you wouldn't be able to pass NOC, right? It's a bare minimum.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so anybody else have any question? If not, then
Jeannie, Prof. Yen asked the panelists a question in the chat.
Yeah, I was just
yes.
going to ask, so how all the students
How
felt
do you
IDP
all
helped in the NOC experience. Maybe Hui, we can start with you since you
IDP
ended the last time.
is okay. Yes.
Kai, you want to go?
Yeah. Bridging IDP and NOC, right? Like you said, I think previously, IDP really, a lot of them is really translational to NOC. They teach you a lot of design thinking, a lot of frameworks, a lot of theory. And actually, truth be told, it's actually really quite applicable, although, sometimes you might not really understand or grasp it quite fully. But I think when you go to a startup, naturally, this kind of thing really comes secondhand nature to you. Like you don't really think about it, but then you realize you're actually applying those things that you actually learn in school. It's really quite true, that life. Really, really true. So yeah, it's really, really a very good thing.
I think I can
Thanks.
add on to that also.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, IDP is so related to every success that I've had in my career. I mean, my first internship was gotten because I was in this one called EG2310, which I highly recommend. The TA eventually saw my skills and asked whether I want to join the startup. And then from there, I think EG2310 as a mod also is something where I learned a lot in terms of software engineering. I go to startups and like new internships like during my school, and I realize some people don't even know. I mean, some people don't know how to use Git or like simple software processes, which I think any IDP student will know by their first or second one. So I think it's not even a question of whether IDP is useful. IDP is definitely useful, and not just for NOC, but any pathway that you want to take. So yeah, I'll if that's I'll end off there.
Thanks, Alvin. Kasta?
Yeah, and I completely agree
Oh.
with what Alvin said earlier. I think EG2310 helped me find my first internship as well. By accident, I was at a hardware store buying parts for something, and I accidentally met a person who then I talked to, and then I got an internship under him. So that was cool. But I also feel like IDP gave me a lot of coding experience as a mechanical engineering student, which ended up getting me my software engineering internship during NOC. So I think the multidisciplinary experience can really help for NOC, where startups need you to have a lot of different skills. Yeah.
Thanks. Sydney, I think wanted to talk.
Yeah, maybe I can go. So actually in IDP, I was working a lot more on like hardware projects. And then now that I'm in a software engineering role, like even though it's not exactly directly related, but I think like the design thinking and like understanding customer needs, like the things that we learn in IDP is really, really applicable to what I'm doing now. So for example, so I'm actually implementing some new features in the app, and I'm able to, I think it just came very naturally to me. Like I'm able to see some things that my colleagues and my colleagues didn't manage to see from the customer point of view, just because I have so much experience doing it in IDP, like through 3301. And yeah, and I think secondly, I think IDP does teach us a little bit about entrepreneurship, but more like technopreneurship. So more on like the solution point of view, and like iterating to get the best solution. So I think IDP's focus is a lot on the solution and like coming up with something elegant, something that you're proud of. But I think as compared to my entrepreneurship classes here in Paris, it's more focused on like the business side of things. So like coming up with a problem. Is the problem even worth solving? Is the problem even like viable to have like customers? So it's like a lot more on like business aspect. So I think having this technology aspect from IDP and having like the business aspect from the entrepreneurship classes here in PSL, I think it really gives me a more like holistic and comprehensive understanding of like what entrepreneurship really is. And I think that really changed my perspective quite a bit. So yeah, very, very glad that I took IDP. Yeah.
Thank you. Ning Xiang?
Yeah, like what everyone else has mentioned, just because I'm working on hardware as well. So working with sensors and interfacing them with like a web app, which is something that I have not really done in the past, like the web app side of things, the user interface side of things. So just having the background in IDP and then bringing that to my work in the company, it's quite useful. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, I guess if any of the attendees have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And if you have any last questions before we end, you can either unmute yourself or type in the chat. If not, thank you all very much for attending, and thank you to all the panelists who very kindly gave us your time. So,
Right.
Alvin, you already have a job?
Yeah, I'm working at TikTok now. Starting in June. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then Christoph, you're saying you're still looking.
Yeah.
And Kai?
Still looking as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Good luck in the job
Okay.
search.
Thank you.
Right. So if no question asked, then we can call this a day. And of course, we're having a series of events coming up. So this is not the last webinar. We got many different events coming up, and also catch us during our student life fair. And NOC is having a booth there in August when the school reopens after National Day. If you got any burning question, that can always write email to me. Okay, let me type the email in the chat here. So it's ocquery@nus.edu.sg. This is my email address. Just write to me here. Okay, write to me here. Okay. Right. So with this, enjoy the evening, everybody. Okay, have a good rest. We'll see you soon. Right. Right. Thanks, everyone. The speakers here has been very great sharing. Take care of yourself when you're in a location. Okay. Bye-bye. Take care. Take care. Right.
Right.
Everybody, take
Thanks,
care.
Dini.
Right. Bye. Bye. Bye.